Well, good evening, my fellow travelers on spaceship Earth. It is I. And I am Guy. I'm coming to you live from Applewood Station, where it is 19 degrees and windy. Windy. Because everyone knows it's windy. Well, I have a flight stick. And I am trying to make the stick work, which is what we're after here. I've got a throttle quad, and I've got a flight stick. Hey there, Jackson. How you doing? Long time no see. But I don't know what I'm doing with my flight stick now. I'm kind of like, well, I want my HOTAS to work, but I can't get it to work. So I'm poking around trying to figure that out now. That's what I'm doing. So I don't want, well, maybe I don't want that at all. Yeah, 19 degrees and windy. It was like 25 today. Ugh. I was actually turning on my AC. I was like, ugh, I hate this. It's already 25. I don't want to be 25. It's just too hot. Had all the windows rolled down. It was actually kind of sad because I think that the configuration in my work has not been set up properly. And so one of the kiddos in the back of the classroom was sweating. And so it was like, poor kiddo. She was like all shiny and everything. And I was like, poor kiddo. She's like dying back there. So today, because I did good in school, I bought myself something I've wanted for a long time. I have a yoke and throttle quad. Um, that means that I've got the steering like an airplane steering here, with the pull yoke and the turn yoke sort of thing like this. And then over on this side, and you can't see it because it's buckled in, is my throttle quad. So I have the little sliders to throttle my engines up and throttle my engines back. So that's what we've got. I'm trying to configure it. And I'm like, I can't get it to configure. And it's making me kind of sad. So I figure I'll mess with this. Guide button chord layout. I don't even know what that means. I couldn't get. You've been making projects, huh? Well, so over the next couple of weeks, next 3 weeks, I don't have work or school. I mean, after this week, I've got my 2 finals, but they're tests. So all I got to do is study for them. And honestly, I didn't study at the midterms because I ran out of time and still got in the upper 80s, lower 90s. So not that worried. Right? I don't even know what that means. The story of my life. So anyway, the good news is that means that over the summer, I intend to spend a lot of time this summer. Well, you might, but next week is like on Wednesday, I have my cultural anthropology final. And on Thursday, I have my archaeology final. And then I'm out. It is over. I will be done schooling, and I will no longer be schooling. And I am sad that my HOTAS isn't working. It's making me sad. I has a sad. I has a sad. That's all right. But yeah. Yeah, I've already turned in all my papers and I've done all the things. And so, as a celebration, I bought myself a joystick so I can fly my spaceships around. with my spaceship joysticks things, which you can only partially see because it's there. But it is cool, and I'm waiting to figure out how I'm going to make this work. We should put music on. But I'm kind of feeling like this isn't going to work like I want it to, and I'm sad. Will work with all of the other ones, but the game that I really wanted to work with is No Man's Sky. Uh-oh. Kanji Kente. Just sounds it sounds terrifying to me. So it is terrifying. Yeah. I don't know how well I ended up with school. They're still grading my papers, so yeah. I went. Schedule for Wheat Ridge. Hey, Brent. Oh, no. So So Brent, look, you can kind of see I have a yoke. The yoke's on me. It's actually kind of wicked. I have a yoke here and my thruster quad here. So I was going to play games tonight, but I don't think I'm going to be playing games, so I'll probably be unbuckling this flight system because I promised myself, right? I promised myself I would finish issues 2 and 3 over the summer, or at least get to a nice rhythm so that I can do them in off times as the second semester starts. So, but yeah, the problem, of course, is as much fun as this is, I can't get No Man's Sky to register it, and that's kind of a bummer. So That's what I wanted. It was No Man's Sky Registry. But it does have throttle quads, and that's cool. I will also get Flight Simulator. Oh, you got a week-long where are you going to go on your week-long vacation? And by the way, so do I. But not for any reason. It's just school ends this week, and they didn't schedule. She hasn't scheduled me until the end of the month. So at the end of the month, it's work every day. But I've got 2 weeks of nothing during the day, nothing during the night. So we've got 2 weeks of concentrated work on Bellatrix Rising 2 and 3. Going to Florida, sun and beach, and relazing, you're shooting lasers again. That's important. Never underestimate the power of lasers. Brent. Oh, yeah, but if you could spell, it wouldn't be half as entertaining. I'm just saying, for the record. You're in Toronto, huh? Not bad. So I have been upgrading this, and I'm upgrading it. All right, guys, I have to go check on my child. I gave instructions to my child, and I'll fetch my child. So, once you've washed your hair, and remember, straight like that, and then really wash this part a lot. Yeah. Don't put it down, because if you put it down, you leave it with hair. Where do you do the thing? Oh, I put it down for cold. So, once you've done that, you put that in your hair and make sure it's all the way through all of it. And then let it sit a minute or so. Okay.
I also need a cup.
Wash it out, yes. But that will make it so that when you comb it, you don't have rats.
All right.
That's called conditioner. Sorry, guys. That's the scary words. You just said the scary words. I'll probably just leave my thruster quad. I'm not going to be able to leave this guy, but I think I can leave my thruster quad because it sits right between my drink and my mouse, and I can run my mouse just fine. You totally do. You totally do, bro. Like, this is terrifying. That's right. We'll get this figured out. All right. I'm just readjusting things because I need to move the thruster quad back to here so that I actually stand any chance ever of using my PC. And we should probably start organizing for doing work like normal humans. Until then, Brent Danger Cannon. And taking the yoke, putting it over here. Putting it down right here. We can put it back later on. But for right now, I think we're going back to configuring the way we were. Which actually, this is kind of a nice configuration right here. Kind of like this. So now I can configure through this guy. There we go. Let's see what we got going on here. Can I do this and a little bit more like that? Even when I'm drawing closely like this, it'll be fine. Yeah. So I just moved my monitor at a slightly different angle. And if I pull it forward like this, it shouldn't be in the way of the door, which would be very useful because then I can open the door. There. Isn't that nice? I still have my ability to have my drinks here. There we go. I'm just looking at like reconfiguring the warp core here a little. That's that thing. Oh, hey, computer, turn on warp core. I don't know why the warp core is not on. Weird. All right. I don't need spec ops. Thanks, though. Computer, do you have a notification for me? Yeah, I've already plugged it in. Thanks, though. Yeah, so this is kind of more what I wanted to do. I wanted to be facing more this way, so I'm looking out the window. Because it's nice out there. Especially as summer comes along and stuff like that. So I thought about the idea of rotating this guy a little bit more like this. Still can draw, and this actually probably is better for my wrist because it's less kind of this and more this. So probably better. I just like you living on the edge there. You're like, yep, you totally do. Just keep going in there with the viz things, being terrifying. Just saying. Oh, somebody's driving by. All right. Well, then I'm going to get to work. I'm actually kind of sad. I had a thing going, and that's true. That's right, man. I have faith in you. I probably have more faith in you than I do in me. Just saying. All right, what do we got? All righty. I love big, wide open, I have no earthly idea what the heck I'm doing here things. Bellatrix Rising completes Act 1, Momentary Ghosts, Issue 2. Let's get this thing open. All right. Wow. Somehow we got really tangled up in here. All right. There we go. There we go. There we go. Okay. All right. Where were we? How were we? What were we doing? Does anybody even know? It's been so many months since I've been in this thing. I think I've forgotten how this all works. Hey, remember to add Brent to the list of people who helped. There you go. Brent, you shall not be forgotten. All right. The Free Trigger PS Thomas Bregman at the 5 Light Hour Safe Line. I'm like rereading everything. I'm like, what was I doing again? Does anybody know? Do you remember? I need to be a little bit more. There we go. The lines need to make more sense, because otherwise this is just complicated. The math doesn't add up. Silver Cove is about 270 light years from here, right? Well, yeah. I checked. We stopped using English about 480 years ago. So in order for her to get here in 480 years, she would have had to have traveled no more than 50% light speed. And then she goes, huh, okay, I see it. And then I had to add, even with time dilation, that's more than 320 years for the people on board. There we go. That makes a lot more sense. See? That cleaned up that line pretty good. Let's go down here and start talking to Max, shall we? I mean, maybe her family messed up the jump calculations or missed the jump line or something. How many times would they have to mess up their jump line, their jump to travel 200 and something light years and 400 actual years? You know, maybe it was a sleeper. So, have either one of you guys watched the English version of Kiki's Delivery Service? Because this scene right here between Alex and Max comes across to me as totally like Gigi was in the English version, with Phil Hartman's voice and everything. So, yeah. Like, I totally like hear it here where Max, how did you find me? And then Max goes, well, I feel like that might be a little hard to. And then she just hugs him and he goes, okay, yeah, yes, I love you too. Yes. Like, I totally imagine Max talking like Phil Hartman. Yep. So Kat, yeah, Jackson knows. I'm working on it. I'll get there. It takes time. But Jackson knows. Jackson knows the feeling. Like, just imagine these two characters. Every time Max talks, it's with Phil Hartman's voice. All right, we're down here in the last row. Right. I figure as long as I'm trying, you're probably still okay. But okay, so I don't remember names very well to begin with. We all know that. That's been one of my problems. And of course, many of the people I know and love around me have shifting names, which is making this even more entertainingly confusing. But the kids at school are the kids that are in my classes I'm teaching. I'm like, you know what, guys? I'm just giving up. You're all Bob. Just accept it. You're all Bob. And I said, and so like a couple of days ago, I was like, okay, if any of you guys, if I ever learn your name, that's not a good thing because I don't remember names. So if I learn your name, we got problems, right? And I had this one kid who was a pest in the back of the room. And so I was like, and I finally, after a while, I was like, hey, Jack, stop. You've got to stop. And he's like, uh-oh, you know my name. And I'm like, yeah, it's because you're starting to tick me off. Well, that was actually kind of one of those things because all the other kids knew that he was a clown and he was screwing around and, he was making it difficult to run the class and stuff like that. So the very end of the class, I'm handing papers back out. And one of them has one of the girls in the front row. And both of the girls in the front row had been very helpful. They've been handing out papers. They've been doing, they've been very, very helpful kids. So I'm up there with one of the, and I was like, oh, here you go, Emily. Here's your paper. And she looks at me and she goes, you remember my name? And she looks like she's going to start crying. And I'm like, I promise I'll forget it. I promise. Don't worry. It's all good. So I was looking at the piece of paper. Yeah. She was messing with me, I think, a little, but it still was very funny. I have these moments. I mean, I actually really rather enjoy being a teacher. It's one of my more favorite things. And I think the funny part is I really enjoy working with teenagers, which I think nobody likes to do. So, hey, that's a plus. Kind of like I turned my monitor 45 degrees this way. I actually really kind of like this setup. I like this rig. Put my arm right here and rest it while writing. Maybe. I mean, these are 14-year-olds, so give or take, I get a mixed bag. Usually, as is typical with 14-year-olds, the girls are more calm and laid back and relaxed, and the boys are more spazzy. Pretty typical rundown. I mean, of course, that's not uniform. The kids that I have had in today's class were all very quiet and very calm, and boys and girls, the whole class was just very silent. They also were not engaging at all. I would ask a question and I'd look around and be like, okay, well, what about this? And all the kids would stare at me and I'd be like, I'm not going anywhere, are we? So, I don't know. It's one of those things. I think part of it is that internally, I'm pretty much still kind of stuck at 14. So, it's a thing. Kind of like this I turned my monitor to this level here, and I'm actually like, this isn't that bad.
Not so horrible.
No, and when I'm writing or drawing, I can be turned like this, and I still get to look outside, I get like sunlight and everything like that.
You're not a shoulder cat, are you?
He's like, I'm over this.
Yep.
So,
Do you want me to put the pizza into gallon bags?
yes, please. Thank you very much. I was going to go down there and do that, but I was going to do that after broadcast. So you can, and if you don't want any of them, you can put them all in the same bag because it's all going to the same place. Anyway. We understand how this works, right? You know how this works. Somebody here is really, really, really interested in eating plastic. And I won't name any names, but I'm very close to this individual. I'm just saying. Right? I'm very close to you. You're very close to me. Just saying. George, by the way, has just turned 4. Because George is, ironically, a Star Wars kitty. His birthday is on May 4th. Yep, he totally had his birthday. He's a 4-year-old kitty now. You're like a full-fledged adult, which means you really shouldn't be eating plastic. You should know better by now. I'm just saying, you're an adult. You have responsibilities. You can't just sit here and eat plastic all day long. You know, that can't be an option. You know what I mean? So, yeah, but yeah, when you get there's a really nice rescue shelter that I have been working with since my 20s. And the rescue shelter, they're a no-kill shelter, and they rescue cats. And yes, shortly before, right? He's like, I'm not an adult. You can't make me. You're not my real dad. Well, maybe you are, but only partially. But yeah. I have been streaming for more than 4 years because George joined us a long time ago. So what had happened was that George, we put ourselves on the kitten list, and you can't be on the kitten list unless you've had a couple of adult cats that you've rescued. And that shelter was where I got Luna. Luna was my first cat outside of the house, like leaving my mom's house. And Luna lived with me for 15 years. And so, like, they can't really say that I didn't have a good life for Luna. And I mean, and she passed away, 14 years ago. So we got Luna 30 years ago from this shelter. So we went in there and we're like, we want to be put on the kitten list. And so they put us on the kitten list. And then one day we got a call, and there had been a litter of kittens, and they were in the kitten room where kittens are. And we went in there and we looked around, and we waited until the one kitten that really responded to the kiddo. And that was George. George just started bouncing around and playing with the kid and having a blast and having a fun time. And so that was the kitten we took home. And it's a good thing too, generally speaking. I mean, the shelter knows us, and that's a good thing, because it was a double whammy. Kittens, they only give kittens to the ones they really trust. And B, it's a black cat. And people still do horrible things to black cats. And so this was both of those they kind of made double sure that we were on record, and they made, the lady who brought it out was asking me questions about Luna, and how did Luna live her life? And I was like, oh, Luna lived a long life and ultimately died of old age. And she looked, and Luna was an all black cat. And if Luna lived 15 years with me, and I had pictures on my phone, and since we got Luna in 1996, the fact that I had pictures on my phone was proof that Luna stayed with me for many, 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 many years. So we had pictures of Luna and all those things and stuff. And so it was a good thing. So they let us have George. And now we have George. And George is a pest because he goes after plastic. I don't know what his problem is, but he'll eat it. He'll chew on that plastic. It's a weird animal. He also likes to stand on my chest now. Like, I'll be looking at my phone or whatever at night, and he'll get up, and then he stands right here on my chest, and then he sticks his head right in front of the phone. Like, he knows where my eyes are. He knows what I'm doing. He knows I'm reading a book or whatever on my phone. And so, thump, right here. And then he headbutts me. He just like hits me straight in the face with his head. Such a goofy animal. He's a good cat, though. Good cat. Yeah. I was watching YouTube, or not a YouTube, but an Instagram short on that, and they were talking about the things that cats do to represent their love for you, and how you know that they've picked you and stuff. So, and one of them is if they groom you, if they headbutt you, but also if their tails get little curls. Oh, it was one of those things that the previous employees of that particular shelter it had been a long time. I mean, if you think about it, I got Luna in 96, and this was 2020. So it had been a quarter century almost since I actually got Luna. So there weren't any employees that were there at the time, though. I was there for Luna. And yes, Luna was named after Luna from Sailor Moon, because she was black. She was an all-black cat. Good cat, too. Luna was the weirdest cat. I could throw candies, like wrapped candies, and I'd throw them, and she'd chase them, pick it up, and bring it back to me, and drop it at my feet like a dog. I've never seen any cat ever do that. It was the weirdest thing, and she'd do it over and over and over. It was like her favorite game to play. I could take these wrapped candies and throw them, and she'd go get them and bring them back. Well, those little Starlight mints that are peppermints, but they're wrapped? Man, she thought that was the best, funniest thing. Good to see you, GZ. Speaking of, the thing is that these employees, they had all of us on record. Like, the current employee went back into the back room and went looking through her files until she found me and brought my record out. And so she brought the record out, which had a picture of Luna on it when Luna was this little teeny scrawny kitten. And I remember her being so little. Of course, that's not the way I remember her later on in life, because I spent the majority of my life with Luna being a full-grown cat. But when I looked at the picture, I was like, oh, I remember that. And she's such an adorable little fluff. So it was pretty cool. And so I wasn't offended or anything. It was fine. I appreciate that they're being that careful. Black cats tend to be tortured and stuff, and I'd rather they lived a good life with me than, all that stuff. And I wonder, oh yeah, I took a gajillion pictures. And here's George when we first got him. I mean, he's just such a little teeny thing. This small animal. Very funny. But yeah, this was the important deciding factor. There's George, there's the kid. Yeah. The other kittens didn't seem as interested. But George was all about this. George was in the middle of the room being a blurry blob. So that was how we picked George. Therein lies the pick. I know, right? I just love pictures of George back in the day. We brought him back and he was in a little box and he kept getting into every box I had. Look how tiny he is. George, you wouldn't believe how small you once were. Little teeny thing. But, I mean, he looks like George. Even back then, he looks like George, so it's kind of funny. A little teeny guy, but he still looked like the cat. He was very, very small. Very, very tiny. And blurry. Biggest problem I had with George when he was younger was he was so blurry. Like how small he was. Like just stick his head in my hand. Like, oh, what a little cat. Anyway, somewhere I thought I had Luna's picture in here, but I think I've moved Luna's picture back to the 1990s. Yeah, I feel like, was it 1995? I don't remember it being 1995. Yes, it was 1995. And there we go. That was Luna. That was her initial picture. They still had her picture on file. They called her Whitney. I liked Luna better. Anyway. Yeah, I know, right? A weird cat. I like my cat. He's strange. He's a strange cat. He's a good strange cat, but he's a strange cat. That's a good question. I feel like spaying or neutering your cat is critical. And there's a lot of reason for that. Not the least of which is cats have become one of the top predators. Good night. I'll see you in the morning. Did you use conditioner?
Yep.
Did it work? Okay. Cats have become an apex predator everywhere. They're killing birds. They're wiping out squirrels. Entire populations of animals are being decimated by the cats. So I firmly believe in spaying and neutering a cat if you're going to keep the cat, because it doesn't hurt them in the long run. It just prevents them from having children. Yes. Because they're brutal. They are brutal. And on the same token, it's one of the reasons why George is not an outdoor cat. It's one of the reasons that George is not an outdoor cat. Now, The real truth is George is not an outdoor cat, because also one of the biggest predators for cats are cars. So they don't live as long. Cats that live outside don't have as long of a lifespan. So I don't let George out. George lives inside this house. The house is huge. He's got a lot of space. He is by no means suffering in here. And so, he's got all the food. Oh yeah, spaying the cats is also good for that kind of thing. So anyway, that's my feeling on it. I feel like you need to be responsible to your cats. And honestly, most of the cats that I've had have lived between 10 and 15 years, generally speaking. So, they live with me for a long time. So, anyway. I like this line. Well, I mean, we're not just zombies. You're saying we're zombies with a destiny. You can see how this sounds a little outlandish. Yeah, maybe that's because it is a little outlandish. All right, then we're over here. Hey, how's it going? Oh, there, Skipper. Well as you'd expect, looks like we have something in the order of 15,000 missing or dead. So, our rescued senator isn't thrilled with his new post. You don't want President Pro Tem to be all one line. No, President Pro Tem. All right, guys, we're gonna have to get cracking on this. I think I'm pretty happy with this, relatively speaking, and I'm feeling like, story-wise, I feel like we've pretty much gotten to a nail-down point. So I feel like we're okay with it. The biggest problem we've got is that we have to finish those fighters at some point. So we'll have to finish up those fighters. I don't even know if I remember where I was with them. The thing is, I kind of like the way they look here better than they actually ended up being. Like when I sketched them right here on page 13, like I really liked that setup, this layout. So I might decide to go in there and just adjust them a little bit, because the versions that we have are not squared here, and the thruster packs in the back are much larger. So I think I'll shrink those down and put these big boosters on the back and make them smaller. And I love the winglets. The winglets are cool. Like, why did I write it this way? Why did I do this way? But also, the cockpit seems to have more like a 1-2 setup here, because they look like, especially if you're looking at this MPV, I'm sure the MPV is behind it in this picture, but the MPV is sitting back here, and these guys up front, I feel like that cockpit's much cooler. I think I'm going to try to adjust my layout of that ship a little bit more so it looks a little bit closer to these. It's just a bunch of adjusting here and moving things there. I'm not going to start over from scratch. I think that's probably fair. So, all right. So, GZ, we were talking earlier. I'm about to go on vacation. Not like vacation, but I'm about to. I don't have work again until the end of May, and school is about to let out. So I'm going to have open time from here until like the last week of May. I'm going to be wide open. So I've decided to crack down on issues 2 and 3 of my comic and get them rolled out. So I'll likely be here for that for quite a bit. And I think that'll be cool. So what are we doing here? Where is it? Yeah. So this week, I only have 2 finals. I do have a 9 o'clock meeting, and I've got a 10 or 11 o'clock meeting tomorrow. So I've got to go down to the school tomorrow and talk about the problems we've been having with my degree and things like that at 11 a.m. So I'll only be on for a few minutes tomorrow morning as we get started, and then that'll be fine. And then looks like Tuesday I'm going to have a normal night stream on Monday. I'll have a stream in the morning on Tuesday and one at night. Wednesday I'm not going to have a morning stream, but I'll have a night stream. Thursday it looks like I'm going to have both streams. Looks like the same thing for Friday. And then I'll have a morning stream on Friday. And then the following week, I mean, they're going to come in here and tune up my heater, my furnace. Get a furnace tune up on Monday the following week. I don't need to actually suspend my my stream for that. They're just going to come in and go, "Where's your furnace?" And I'll say, "Downstairs." You know. So then Tuesday looks normal. Like I'll have a normal stream on the 14th. 15th looks normal. 16th. What's on 16th? Oh, we could probably suspend that. There we go. 16th looks normal. So, I mean, all of these are, as in, once we get to this, it's going to be like it was last year. The 16th will be a normal broadcast day. I'll have a morning and an evening. The 17th, I'll have a morning. And the 20th, both streams. 21st, both streams. 22nd, 23rd, 24th. And then, looks like if we are at that last one. So, in other words, the next 3 weeks, I will have the majority of the days I will have 2 streams a day. It's the long and the short of it. Monday the 20th. Yeah. 28th is the first class that I'll have. And then I have a full run, so it'll be the 28th through the 31st. Shrug. We do what we do. But I don't seem to have anything that'll disrupt streaming until the 28th. So, most of May, I will be working on my comic here. Just so you guys all know. Yeah, there you go. All right. See what I mean? This this isn't as cool. I mean, it's okay, but I don't know why, but I like this guy better. He just looks more functional, more like he's got a long nose saber. Maybe what I can do is use the legs and structure on the bottom half here and continue to use that. Because they're already linked together. Everything's all linked together here. Except that this guy needs to be extended out. Like so. There. Yeah, see, I like the version with the winglets. And really, honestly, the only thing that's different about this are the engine pods in the back and the nose. So I could probably use everything from this section back and then make two different versions. So this could be a fighter version, a smaller version of the SAR versions, because these are SAR version ships. I can use these as SAR and then just continue with everything in the structure back to the back, the after section. You know I see you, right? You know that you're not hiding. I mean, I know you think you're like completely invisible because you're black, but you're really not. I swear my cat. I'm just saying. We are trying to eat plastic again. You know, you were once very small. You know that? Did you know that? Did you know that? Mm-hmm. All right. Oh, I'd forgotten. We already did all the landing gear, too. That's fine. It's not a big deal. I just forgotten that was the case. So let's go into object mode. Select the object. Go into edit mode. This is going to be a mess. All right. We got this. We got this. First things first, we're going to take this piece and move it forward and get it out of the way. Then we're going to go like so. Maybe go to the top, because what we need next is to grab this section right here. Move it forward, get it out of the way. And then this is the tough part. I'm going to have to try to grab all of that. It's going to be a little bit more complicated than it needs to be. All of this. And that. And that. And that. 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 Oof. And that. And that. Maybe. Yep. That. And that. I'm going to pull all of that forward. Whew. Taking a look at all of that. That's actually fine, because then we can make that work. And then we get that square look that we're looking for the back of the Mustang there. Which is kind of what I liked about this sketch of it, is this kind of boxy look right back here, because it makes you think that maybe there's a second cockpit back there, or the potential for a second cockpit. So you can have tandems in here. Yeah, that'll work. So I'll put that forward like so. We'll give them a different engine set for this. I'll give them a different forward structure set on the nose, and the cockpit will close down in a clamshell, and that'll give us a much different aspect for this, but it'll be fine. And that canopy, that'll be a different critter. Get it just out of the way completely for right now, because we'll come back in and put that canopy back in, but I'm going to make sure that it covers everything in the front of the vessel first. So, all right. Now that we've done this, don't want to mess with this landing gear in the front necessarily, so I'm just going to pull it forward. And hopefully the whole wheel assembly comes with it, and it does. Good. So I don't need to worry about that, and the operating door for it, we'll figure that out a little later on. But at least for right now, it just needs to be pulled forward. That assembly can go this way. Apparently this assembly is going to become insanity. That's what it's going to be. There you go. Nope. Just you two. Thank you. Just you. There we go. I wonder, since I'm putting these legs, or since I'm putting the hull forward more, if I couldn't run the hips forward more too. The hips have this extra joint in it right here because of the nature of the fact that that cockpit needed to be open for the legs to go through it and not get caught up in it. In other words, so that the pilot's not sitting on the legs of the spacecraft. But if I were to put this forward to here and put the legs there, what would happen? Like permanently place the legs in this position, like there, and then just leave that as it is. Because that's counterbalanced better. Yeah, I think that's counterbalanced better. There. Yeah, see, that's totally reasonable. That's an absolutely reasonable position for that leg to be in. The only problem I have is it really does kind of... Initially, these guys folded the legs double fold. But now I'm kind of looking at this going, well, I don't know if I want it to be permanent double fold like that. Maybe I just kind of like them holding out like this. If you are new to Bellatrix Rising, then welcome to the fact that Bellatrix Rising has mecha. If you're not new to Bellatrix Rising, then this is absolutely zero surprise to anybody. Maybe here. Adjusting the legs out. This means I can make these upper legs more stout, stronger. And this is a much more resilient mecha than the little fighter mecha that we were dealing with before. So I don't know. I feel like that these leg pods need to be, I don't know. I feel like the legs probably should be wider and attached to each other. Not 100% sure. All right. Another thing looking at this particular picture is these upper engine pods are much more integrated into the design of the spacecraft. Which makes me think that the Sabre, which is the original fighter that this is built off of, the Sabre had intakes, presuming it was going to use it as an air breather. And it's probably just a longer duration flight if you've got air intakes, because then you can open the air intakes, and if you're like flying through, like, I don't know, a gas giant, you can air intake and just take in hydrogen and burn the hydrogen through the engines. If you're in an oxygen atmosphere, you can use the oxygen as a catalyst. You know, I would assume that these engines are markedly more versatile than the engines that, you know, the previous than any engines we'd be using today. So that'd be my guess. And just kind of looking at the way that so when we talk about the Mustangs, these Mustangs are probably going to have more of a fusion engine set, and they're just going to be running fusion through those, which is fine, but they won't have as much of a longevity, which isn't the point. Sabres are supposed to be engaged in fights and stay in fights for a very, very long time, whereas I feel like when we're talking about the Mustangs, they've got limited range and limited job task ability. Difference in spacecraft and purpose. So I'm going to start with these engine barrels, and I'm just going to build new engines for it, which means we're going to take this engine off its mount, carefully so as not to rip apart part of the wing. There we go. Very close to that wing. We'll just take that engine off its mount. And that's going to leave me a hole in the structure, but that's all right. I'm going to go back in and patch it. We're going to take the other engine off its mount too. I got to get that angle. Alrighty. Because we are dealing with Trekkies, somewhere I have these engines written down as to what engines they are. Like I said, different purposed engines. Alright, we've taken the engines off their mounts, which is exactly what we want. We look at it in object mode and switch it from naked mode, and you can see now we have holes in the hull, which is fine because I'm actually going to put a different kind of engine back here. The best part about this, though, is it's already wired up, so I don't have to redo the flaps, which is great, because who wants to really mess with that? And nobody wants to mess with that. Nobody. Okay, let's get in here. A few other things that might not be a bad housekeeping measure while going through this section of the spacecraft. I'm kind of looking back here and going, yikes, this is a mess. I don't even know what I was thinking. Was I asleep or something? There we go, because that's a markedly messier. This is such a messy section. Ugh. How many stupid things did I do back here? I do 12 stupid things before lunch. And all of them involve these vertices back here in this jacket. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Look, it's internal. Ugh. What a mess. All of you just need to die in a fire. All right. Okay. And then we can take, I don't know, you two? How many are in here? Good heavens. Who built this thing? Oh yeah, me. I thought this was a good idea. There we go. That was a good idea. Oof. This is the result of an insane man. I'm just saying. Good heavens. What a mess. There's still a face in there somewhere. Good heavens. What were you thinking? What were you thinking? Get in here. It's not like a random face going the wrong direction. Inside? Is it outside? Where is it? There's just... Look. What if I just zort you? There. Now take these. And you... Oh, it's 11 o'clock. Put it in the face. I probably just run straight back through here. Maybe. And it's going to be... How many... Uh-oh. I don't like the look of that. There's nothing there. Just a line. Oh no. Jeez. What a mess. Okay, that's the wall. Oh man. Okay, that's what we're after. We're down to just one vertice there. Oh my goodness. I'm sure what I was thinking on this one. Alrighty, we have patched this up and brought it forward. All right. Oof. Everything's bent slightly. All right. Now I think I've patched this wall. There we go. There. The truth is, it's not lined up well with those guys up there, so we're going to have to do pressing forward like so, pressing forward like so, just to get everything lined up, which is fine. I'll go back in and patch this guy through, and it won't be a problem, but it really was kind of weirdly set up. Well, now I'm going to have to think about this. Because I actually think that probably what we want to do is not that. We probably want to do this. And then that way it's got a face there. Uh-oh. When did that open up? It is kind of ridiculously messy. It doesn't need to be this messy. 1, 2, 3, 4. Really, it doesn't need to be this messy at all. And that's 5. I can't do 5 through there. All right, you and you, and then to the after part of the spacecraft. Come back here. Look at that. Look at all that mess. Ugh. What was I thinking? First things first, I think we're gonna have to delete some of this stuff. And I think we even have 2 different lines here. Yep. Just that one. Good night. I feel like I'm going to have to resort to putting the rest of this patch together tomorrow morning. By the nature of this, it looks like I'm not going to be able to finish it tonight, which is fine. Thus patching this entire side up very nicely. There we go. Yeah, look at this back section. That's not going to be easy to patch. So what we're going to end up ultimately doing is deleting the right side of the left side of the spacecraft, molding the front, deleting the left side, mirroring it, and seeing what happens. But I think this is a tomorrow problem. I think for right now, we've patched up that kind of messy. There was some messy architecture back there, and I didn't like that. We fixed some of that, so that worked. I like what it's done over here with the. You can't see it very well, but it has decided to become bizarre on this side. So we're gonna have to repurpose it again whenever it comes back out for mapping purposes, but we'll get there. All right. So dealing with the Mustang seems like it's going to be a little easier. Should be a little easier. I think she also needs to be wider in the center section. Like this needs to be a wider central point. So I might just take everything on this side of the spacecraft and move it out, you know. But what I wanted to do is make sure I do it through the center like this, otherwise it's not going to work. And just move it like so. And that'll make it a little bit wider. More like it looks here. These guys look cool. So this is what we're after, is we're trying to make these are Mustangs, and the previous spacecraft was what we called a Saber. So it doesn't need to have the same kind of setup. But we're now at the point of time for me to go to bed. It's time for you to go to bed. Time for everybody to go to bed. So it's good to have you here, Jackson. I'm glad to have you here. Glad to have you here too, GZ. And I hope that I'll see you all in the AM, like I said, tomorrow morning. Get the calendar for tomorrow. Tomorrow morning I have an 11 a.m. meeting, so I'll probably bug out at 10, but I'll still be on from 9 to 10. So we should be fine. So if you want to join me, Kat, tomorrow or tomorrow night or any of those things, tomorrow night's Geek Tank, so I won't be starting until 10, which would be like 11 your time, but that's okay. The day after will be starting at normal 9, which is 10 your time. So, but either way, it's always good to see you. Always good to have you here. And I miss you, Jackson. I'm glad to see you here, and I see you at some other time. And GZ, I hope you're still there, and I will see you at another time. And Brent has already gone to bed because done. Everybody else, have a wonderful evening, and remember to keep your eyes on the stars. Goodbye.